Okay, I had to start over because I got an interrupting phone call. This is Yud Zayin Kislev Tavshin Pei Beis. It's Moshe Shabbos, and I'm doing this as from the weekly shir for Zera Shimshon. It's very interesting. It's talking about angels. We're not familiar with that so much, but the Avos were, and even the Shivchai Avos. We'll see. The Midrash Rabbah says, Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim. Yaakov sent angels. So, Omer Rabbi Chaim bar Chanina, Chalgar Shivcha Sarah Nizdam Lolei Chamisha Malachim. Sarah, who was the maidservant of Sarah, she happened to have 5 malachim help her. That Zeh Shehu Oyavoi, but Yaakov, who is beloved to God, so had Alachas Kama V'Kama, he should have malachim to help him. Eliezer Avdoi Shel Bayez. So Eliezer was the slave to Avram Avinu. So he was Nizdam Loli Kama Malachim. He had many angels help him. But that Yaakov Oyavoi Shel Bayez Alachas Kama V'Kama. So even more so, Yaakov should get angels. Omer Rabbi Yosef Katanum Shel Shavatim Haya Nizdam Loli Shloisha Malachim. Yosef was the least of all the Shavatim, but he had 3 angels help him. Shahayu, Shahu Aviyam Shakulam Alachas Kama V'Kama. So, but the father of all of them, Alachas Kama V'Kama, even more so that he should have angels help him. That was the end of the midrash. It's puzzling midrash. Yesh l'daktik matzorich the kal v'chaymer. What do we need the kal v'chaymer for? Because there's mefurish that yifku boy malachi elakim, that Yaakov Avinu met up with angels. There were thousands. But Yomer Yaakov kasher ra machane elakim zeh. So he saw it was a machane elakim. That's brought in the midrash Rabbah. Shishim riboy malachim, 600,000 angels. Hayu chalim u'merakdim lifnei Yaakov v'knisasei le'aretz. They were dancing in front of Yaakov Avinu when he came into Eretz Yisrael. That's why it says, Vayomer Yaakov kasher ra'am. It says, Yaakov, when he saw them, machane elakim zeh ve'ein machane pachas mishishim riboy. That's the end of the midrash there. And he's not less than, for machane Yisrael, machane Shechina is not less than 600,000 angels. Lafi zeh, he couldn't take these 600,000 and send them as messengers to Esav, because it's not fitting that he should be paigim them machne shechina, make a dent in the machne shechina, she'eno shoyre apachas mishishim riboy, because it's got to have 600,000. That's why he needed the kal v'chomer to shabolu malachim achivim l'shamshay, that he needed other angels to serve him. But still, it's difficult. He says, why pligi my pligi Rabbi Yossi im Rabbi Chama? What's the argument between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Chama? Why did the Hagar and Eliezer have more malachim than Yosef get? We only got 3. And furthermore, Lama Rabbi Chama maybe shtei rayos mi Hagar by Eliezer. Why did he bring 2 proofs from Hagar and Eliezer? Would he suffice with 1? V'yesh the Torah shel Hagar yitzterich chamisha mipnei. Why did he need 5 angels for Hagar? Because it was a hint. Hoyo shehagar kisharasa shenis abra. When she saw she became pregnant, haisa mevaza the Sarah she'ena zeicha leharai. She was mevaza Sarah because she wasn't privileged to get pregnant. Like it says, "Vatera ki harasa ve'eka be'eno." Meforsha pasuk. She saw that she became pregnant, and she was mevaza. She was light in her eyes, Sarah, and that's what Rashi says. L'chein bo lo chamisha malachim. They're mice. Therefore, 5 angels came to hint that shemasha Sarah eino ro'ila heroyan hu mishum she'en lo chamish ha'hebe hashma. And because the reason why Sarah was not fitting to get pregnant is because she didn't have a hay in her name. So the hay equals 5 in Hebrew. Shenikre Sarai, and that's why there were 5 angels. The Shema Afhi Haisa And so when she changed her name from Sarai to Sarah, she was also fitting to get pregnant. In other words, she wouldn't embarrass Sarah anymore. Rabbi Chaim Kanievski. So therefore he brings a raya from Hagar that it was sent to appease Sarah. And it appeared that Hagar was more unfortunate or poor than Sarah. Okay, the Amrina b'Midrash, like it says, al pasuk be'er lechai roi. It's brought down there. Oisa sheyashva ala be'er, that person that sat by the well. The Omer lechai oilomim re'ek be'aluvein. Look at my poverty, my unsuccessfulness here, my embarrassment. Afal Hagar was saying to God, look at me. I'm so embarrassed because of my situation. Afal Pisha Gam him chata neged Sarah, even though that Hagar sins against Sarah, that she disgraced her, like it says, Tera ki haras ve'ekel beino ze shehu oyavay shalbeyes. So this Yaakov Avinu, who was the beloved of the house, shaloi chata klal neged Esav, he didn't sin at all against Esav. The brachas he took because of his command of his mother, and the bechorah he took the shem shemayim kedei shelo yiheh rasha ze oimed b'makriv, so that he wouldn't become the bechor and be makriv korbanos. Eino mikol shekein and sheyiheh yochel ishtamish b'malachim l'sholchem le'esav. So even more so, he should be privileged to send angels to Esav. Lehi natzal mimeno, to be saved from him, shaloi aluvenu oid, so that he wouldn't be embarrassed anymore. Yaakov shakat bedaita, so he would be silenced in his mind. I mean, to be peaceful in his mind. So the malachim came to turn the mind around of Lavan and Besul, that they would agree with him. And he would make a very nice, he would nachas ruach, he would make a pleasant spirit to completely fulfill his mission from Yaakov Avinu. That wouldn't be so me'aka, because Hari Rivka Haisa writes Rivka agreed to go with him, af im lo yaskimu him, even if they wouldn't agree. But it means Lavan and Besuel wouldn't agree. K'moshe Pirish Rashi on the pasuk, v'toimer elech, ayin shah. Zeh machmes amalach sheshalach Avram kedei shete'ava tavoya isha leleches acharav. That's what the malach that Avram sent, in order that the woman should come with Eliezer. He could have taken a wife from the sons of, from the daughters of Aner and Eshkol and Mamre, who were with Avram Avinu, and they were his Talmidim. So even more so, the Malachim should help Yaakov Avinu turn the mind around of Esav. Shaloi dai, shaloi Yalvenu oid, said he shouldn't embarrass him anymore. That he should agree to the brachas that he got, like he did. So he said in the pasuk, you keep what you got. That's it. I don't want anything. So he needed both of these things, like the brachas and the bechorah, so that it was similar to the situation of Hagar and Eliezer. Rabbi Yossi here gives the mikol elu ein raya leYaakov. Well, from all of these things, there's no proof for Yaakov. Why? The ma leHagar Eliezer shahayu oisim etzayna shamakam. Hagar and Eliezer were doing the will of God. Sheretzaina shamakam hu Haya shetashuv Hagar lebeis Avram. The will of God was that Hagar should go back to the house of Avram. And that's what the Malach told her. Dafka. So in Eliezer also that he should take Dafka, Rivka as the mate for Yitzchak. It was fitting for Yitzchak. But you should say this to Yaakov, that he sent Malachim to Esav, that he didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do the will of God. He was sleeping and he aroused him. So he brought a proof from Yosef that even though that the will of God was that he should go to Egypt, Mekama Midrashim, like many Midrashim say, Rashi says that all the time by that pasuk. It was the deep counsel of Avram Avinu. V'yim kol zeh nizdavgu loy shloisha malachim lahidia sinas echav kadei shelo yilech. So he wanted to send these three angels to show that the brothers hated him, so that he shouldn't want to go. Why dafka 3? Because there was a hint to him that 3 things that he sinned, kenegdom b'lashon hora, that he was misaper on them. Okay, I'm going to stop here because there's a continuation, but it's really a long piece. But just to give you an idea of that the Avos did use malachim, especially Yaakov Avinu. Okay, there's a special segula this week, and also in this week's parsha. He says, my name is Rabbi Chaim Dov Greenwald, not the real name. And I have enjoyed reading the stories in your newsletter, whereas in the past I only was able to read about other people's stories. Now I have a story of my own to share, and I'm writing to you with tremendous joy and feeling of obligation to let all the readers know what happened to me. He says, I recently turned 21 and I was more than ready to get married. Not long after my birthday, when I was feeling that the time was passing quickly and nothing was happening, a friend called me up and told me about the Zera Shimshon. So what's so special about this sefer? I asked him. I mean, there are millions of Sfarim in the world. Why are you talking dafka about this one? You don't understand, he replied. Many people who started to learn this sefer from this sefer experienced Yeshuas. What do I need to do? He said, go out, buy the sefer, and learn from it. Okay. It didn't sound like a big deal. I followed his advice, and a few days later I find a Sfarim store that sold the sefer, brought it back to the yeshiva, and began to learn it on a regular basis. I'll be honest with you. He says, it was difficult for me to understand what the Zera Shimshon wrote. Nevertheless, I kept at it. I didn't give up and learned from the Sefer at least twice a week, even though there were times I didn't understand what I had read. It didn't let me stop that. It didn't let that stop me. The author never requested that I understand what he wrote. He requested that I learn the Sefer, and that's exactly what I was doing. When I finished learning my quota for the day, I'd mentioned the Zera Shimshon's name and asked that I be zoiche to find a good shidduch in his chos. A week after I began learning the Sefer, my parents were suddenly inundated with top-quality shidduchim, and I got engaged a short while later to a girl with a wonderful family. Here I want to make something very clear. The shidduch that I got was better than I'd ever dreamed possible and more than I ever expected. Of course, I told everyone in yeshiva about what happened to me, and I was even able to convince the Rosh Yeshiva to begin a daily shir in Zera Shimshon for a group of Bachrim who were in the Parshat and needed chizuk. The Rosh Yeshiva gave numerous shirim every day for many groups of Bachrim, and he was more than willing to give this one as well. One of the other Bachrim in the yeshiva was a few years older than myself. We were good friends, and I knew that he was having a very difficult time finding a shidduch, to the point that he no longer believed in the whole inyan of segulais. It wasn't easy convincing him to give a sefer a chance, but having seen the results firsthand, I wasn't about to let him off the hook. I brought it up again and again until he agreed to give it a try, and even bought him a copy of the Zera Shimshon to learn. Once he agreed, my friend took the whole thing very seriously and began learning from the sefer every single evening. I hesitate to write the next words, but it's the truth. Right away, things changed for him. Shatchanim began calling his parents with ideas for him, for a bacher whom had been completely forgotten about. Suddenly he was back in the game, and I was a witness to the whole thing. My friend got engaged soon after. There was no question in everyone's mind that the schus of the Zera Shimshon had helped turn his mazel into one of bracha and goodness with best wishes. So everybody should have the mazel and bracha and the zechus and the yeshuas of the Zera Shimshon. Have a good tavach.